Hi everybody, welcome to the live studio of the 21st edition of Queer Film Festival Mezipatra. My name is Hanna Kulhankova and I used to be a director of Mezipatra many years ago. I counted, it's 15 years ago, and ever since I have been a big fan. So I'm happy that I'm here today as well. And thank all of you for joining us today at How to Make a Festival Eastern Edition, and another online event as part of our second edition of the industry program that will be held in English only. And if you would like to share your thoughts, comments or questions, don't hesitate and ask or comment in the section below, and we will try to reply to your questions and thoughts in the stream. Now, we have 4 great guests today that will share with us their experience of how it is to live as an open queer person in Slovenia, Russia, Poland and Czechia, and also how it is to organize a queer film festival in these respective countries, especially in the current months when the whole world is affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. So I hope that you will enjoy the discussion, and again, don't forget to ask questions in the chat. Now I will introduce our guests. So first, I would like to introduce Simona Jerala from Slovenia. She's a film director, producer and programmer of Ljubljana LGBT Film Festival. Second is Ksenia Ilina from Russia. She is film critic, curator, associate of Side by Side International Film Festival, and also founder of Invisible Film Festival. Third guest is from Poland. His name is Przemysław Szczepien, and he's an organizer of LGBT Film Festival and Afrikamera Film Festival and chairman of Fundacja Filmgram. Hi. And the fourth guest is here with me in the studio, Pavel Bicek from Czechia, and he's a director of Mezipatra Queer Film Festival.
Hello.
Yeah, so I'm very happy that all of us are here, and I would like to ask the first and obvious question to all 4 of you. And how are you? And how are your lives today influenced by the COVID-19 pandemic in your countries? And let's start with Ksenia, please.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm fine. Actually, even during these hard times, and it's a strange situation right now in Russia because we have so many ill people, but we still not have like a second lockdown. We still can go wherever we want to go, but I think it will change like in 2 weeks maybe, because it's obvious all over the world that it's second wave. So, but we still have cinemas open and bars and cafes open till 11 p.m. It's kind of more strict than it was. But maybe our government doesn't want to make the second lockdown so obvious right now.
Okay, So thank you very much. We envy you, of course, a little bit. And so now let's move to Simona and Slovenia. How are you and what's the situation in your country?
Hi. Well, our situation is so-so, let's say. We have, as you know, probably right-wing government since March. So, for example, the film sector is frustrated because since March all the money was just blocked. So no film is actually being filmed since March. And also the festivals didn't get money, and filmmakers didn't get paid for the projects for the last years, and everything is stopped actually. Also the bars and the cinemas are closed already for 1 month. And right now we have to be in our own municipalities for the last 2 weeks, so you cannot actually move really. But the COVID situation is getting more stabilized right now. We have around 1,500 new infections per day, so it's getting stabilized, let's say.
Okay, thank you. And Przemek, please, how is the situation with you and in Poland in general?
Okay, we're very much in flux over here. So basically, since today, we've just had full lockdown. So we're now, the cinema just closed today. So like last day, everybody went to the cinema who could. So the theaters were full yesterday. We managed to do our festival in September. So we managed to do our festival before the second wave. Plus, it's a bit chaotic right now in Poland. You probably heard we have the fuck off peace protests, which are connected with the abortion. Because the Constitutional Tribunal changed the rules for abortion, making them practically illegal, and everybody went to the streets, and that's also partially brought in the LGBT community. And everybody was in the streets. It sort of died down now, but it's been like a very chaotic past 2-3 weeks, with the positive aspect being that support for the ruling party has really gone downhill.
Yeah. So at least one good thing from this whole really messy situation in Poland. And now let's move to Czechia. Pavel, how are you? And how is the situation for you now?
Yeah, with me, actually, the situation is fine because the festival has started officially and successfully, I would say. So that's a good thing. But at the same time, in the Czech Republic, the situation is really not good at all. And Prague, when you go on the street nowadays, it feels like a ghost town. You can feel the nervosity in all the people. And I guess we will just be about to see what impact it has on us because it's a tough time. We have the curfew now. We cannot leave the house after 9 p.m. And the situation, of course, is very dynamic, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks a lot for these introductions. And now I would like to ask all of you again, how come that you work or volunteer for Queer Film Festival? How did it happen that you started? So, Ksenia, can you tell us how you started working or volunteered for the festival?
Yeah, if you're asking about Side by Side Film Festival, I started to write for them, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and just a friend of mine introduced me to Gulya Sultanova. It's an organizer of Side by Side Film Festival, and we decided that I'm as a film journalist, I would write for them. And after that, I was traveling a lot, visiting film festivals. So I was writing for them not only reviews or some comments about queer films, and also some reviews from festivals, guides, queer guides, if I can say so. Yeah, and 1 year ago, it was exactly a year ago, in November, I was invited to jury of Side by Side, and this year we have online plus offline a bit edition in November in a week. It starts, and I will do some short introductions for film. It's already on video because it will be mostly online. So I collaborate with them these 2 years.
Okay, super. We will come to how the next edition of the festivals are going to be this year in a short moment. So now, Simona, can you tell us how you started being in the festival?
Actually, there was an open call 1.5 years ago, so I applied and they accepted me as an organizer and a programmer. But I've been actually going to this festival, Ljubljana LGBT Film Festival, since for the last 10 years. They also screened my first short film there, and I think the second one as well. And I actually know the organizers because they are activists, so we kind of know each other. Ljubljana is a small city, and we know each other, so it's like we know each other from the scene. So it was, let's say, I work more or less with my friends.
Okay, nice. So I think that's the case with many festivals. It was also the case when I was doing Mezipatra, that it was just really like a festival of friends, which still is, right? So. Okay, so Pavel, how was it with you then?
With me, I actually used to organize another film festival, the One World Documentary Film Festival, with documentaries about human rights. And I think, for me, why I joined Mezipatra and why I was doing One World as well, is that activism and film was always connected for me, and being active in like trying to make some social change or something meant always a lot for me. So that's why I joined Mezipatra, and I met the people, the organizers, through the first experience with One World.
Okay, nice. I was also part of One World some times ago. So, like, Czech Republic is also very small, so we know each other very well. And Przemek, what about you? How did you start working for or being involved with your festivals?
I have my own festival, and basically Victor Morka, who's like the main organizer, programmer, he needed someone to help him with technical issues. And he was also like by himself, and we had our foundation, so we sort of took in his festival to our foundation, and now we're like working together closely. I do the technical stuff, he does all the artistic inputs and selection and stuff like that. So yeah, that's more or less the way that I got involved, and so now we like cooperate closely on both our festivals.
Okay, super. So now let's move to the question of like, if you could tell us a bit about kind of like introduce, like in 30 seconds, 1 minute, your festivals, like to the audience, in case they, for example, would like to be part of it, since now lots of the festivals are online, so it's easier for us from abroad to be part of it as well. So Simona, can you tell us, can you introduce Ljubljana LGBT Film Festival to the people who have never been there?
Yes, if anybody is interested, there is a site, Ljubljana LGBT Film Festival, so it's easy to find it. There's all the program, but this year, the festival is in December, so end of December. So here we are still, we didn't publish the program yet, but it will be out soon. We have international films. We are trying to find films from countries that are not only European. So we are trying to find countries from South America, for example, from Asia. But I think that's connected to some other question. What else? So this year we.
And
Did I?
is your festival gonna be like fully online, or are you planning to have some like physical events as well, or?
Yes, we really hope that maybe cinemas will open again by end of December, because they've been closed already for 1 month. So we are still hoping, but most likely we will have half of the program online at least, or a full program even. We still don't know actually, but we are preparing to go for online edition.
Okay. Ksenia, how is it with you? You already said that side by side is gonna happen in a week. So what are your plans for the audience this year?
Our plans is to be online and offline as well. So in the case it will be closed, like all places will be closed, cultural places in a week. So we will be online. As for my own child, my own Invisible Film Festival, it was already month ago. It was online as well and offline, but offline it was a little bit complicated because we made it on a platform of bookshop, and it also has a cultural platform in the city. It's called Word of Order, Порядок слов, and it could be only 15 people in like physical presence. So like another people was online, but it was rather cool both situation.
Okay.
So let's see how it will be in a week if side by side.
And for side by side, is it possible for like international audience to join the online festival, or like the films that you will be showing are gonna be just for Russian audience?
If we say about online, I think international guests could join it. Yeah.
Okay, super. And Przemek, how is it going? Oh, your festival already finished, right? So how did it go this year?
Well, it's not entirely finished. We're online right now. We're still online, I think, till Sunday. But we did the main event in Warsaw in September. It actually went pretty well. It seems like people needed to bounce back after all that happened in April, March. We had limited cinema halls, so it was like limited to 50%. But we had very good actually attendance rates. It was smaller than last year, but in large part because of the cinema halls being smaller. So, but in general, yeah, it was actually pretty good. We weren't actually in certain cinemas. We actually had more viewers than last year, so it was a bit of a interesting change in that respect. And now we have the online. I'm not sure how the online is going, but it's basically in the online we're just showing like half of the movies that we presented this year. And I think in general we were very afraid of how it will work out in September, but actually it turned out very well, and we're very happy about how this year worked. So it was actually a surprise,
Okay, great.
at least to some extent.
Great. And Pavel, how is it with Mezipatra? Was it a difficult choice to turn Mezipatra from the physical festival entirely to online space?
Yeah. So the situation in the Czech Republic was actually changing quite dynamically in the past few weeks, exactly at the time that we were ready for the cinemas already. But even before, they locked down the cinemas, we had to make the decision to go online. And it was a roller coaster because it's been like 3 weeks since we made the decision, and now here we are in this studio and with all the films online. And it's not only securing the rights, which is already, you have to pay extra. Of course, the invoices for the offline screenings were already paid. No one gives anything back to you. So you're kind of trying to make the deals for the online edition. Now some films are hesitating, So it was a load of work that we had to do in the last few weeks, and I am happy that we have the two parts of the program, the film program, which is accessible only from the Czech Republic, because that's sort of the accepted thing for the rights holders. But all the accompanying program, which includes the Q&As with the directors of the competition films, and the industry program, as we are here now, is accessible from anywhere and for free.
Okay, nice, thank you. And we can watch it afterwards as well, right?
Yes.
In case we don't have time to watch it like live right
Exactly.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, super. So now I would like to, because we already like touched it a little bit, so let's talk about audiences in your festival. Like, since many of your events are going to be online, or are going to be like online and physical as well, like hybrid festivals. Do you think that this, like, moving at least part of the program online or full program online, really makes the program much more accessible to large audience numbers or different audience groups that wouldn't be able to, for example, travel to your city when your festivals are only physical? Or do you see some like challenges there as well in terms of the audience? And let's start with Ksenia, for example.
Yeah, I think definitely it will be it make audience more. It's make more audience bigger because, as far as I know, Side by Side will screen all films online, and actually it's hard to, for example, for people to go from, let's say, Vladivostok to Moscow or St. Petersburg, or I don't know, from Sakhalin. It's near Japan, so it's like you fly 8 hours. So it's kind of difficult to go for if you want to visit a film festival, and if you have only one goal for your visit. So I think it's definitely will be better for whole Russia. And I think for Invisible Film Festival, it was better as well, because many of our directors live not in St. Petersburg, so they can join us in Zoom and discuss films with audience. So I think it's not the perfect situation, let's say, but I think this situation has pluses.
And Simona, what about you? Do you think that moving festival to online space, like, partly gives festivals more chance to reach different audiences?
We will see. I hope we will be able to attract as much people as possible due to these restrictions. I mean, it's different, in my opinion, if you are visible in a physical shape, if there are posters in the city, you walk by, there's like an event, you go in, it's a different spirit. You also go there because you want to meet people. And I think now people have so many online events already, like jobs are online, all the social media is online. I mean, I myself, I'm trying to be off screen if I can be, because it's so much of this online already. But for sure, there will be some people maybe happy that they can go to see the films online this year, because some people live in the remote villages, maybe, and I mean, I have to say that our festival is not only in Ljubljana. We are already trying to decentralize, so trying to put it out of the center. So we have it already in 5 smaller cities around Slovenia, also in Trieste in Italy, because there is also a small Slovenian community living there. So it's already like dispersed a little bit. But yeah, I hope it will be accessible to more people in this way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about the same, like for example here with Mezipatra, like when the festival is in the cinema, you just feel that you are like in the queer heaven. It's like your whole like queer family is there and everybody enjoys it. So do you already miss it, Pavel, this year?
I do miss it, and so do the audiences. I expect actually a radical drop in the number of the screens of the visitors or the viewers, because of exactly the point that was already mentioned. Because everyone is so fed up with sitting at the computer nowadays. We all have to, communicate over the screen the entire days, and it's of course I could see during the opening film, it was live streamed, so there was a chat open for the audiences before the film and after the film, and I could see there that a number of the audiences came from small towns around the Czech Republic, which was great, because we could never reach that with Mezipatra being held in Prague and Brno. So that is a great thing, that it's more accessible to people in outside of these two cities, but at the same time, I think we will have a drop of number of viewers due to the fact that it's not physical, that it's not that you don't get into contact with people.
Thank you. Przemek, how was it this year at your festival? Did you have like any like that you could analyze your audience, like where they came from, who they were, or how was it?
Well, in the end, it ended up to be the same like in last year, apart from the fact that we had a smaller cinema, because we could only fill it up 50%. But it was basically the same as any other year. And I think people really needed it, because one of the main aspects that make our festival so important, as far as I'm concerned, is that it creates a safe space for LGBT in Poland, and there aren't that many safe spaces that aren't clubs. And here you just you're just in the mainstream, and the whole cinema is yours, and basically you have like this week or 10 days where it's very basically you can be yourself, and you don't have to worry about other people judging you. And that's, I guess, one aspect where I don't think. I think LGBT festivals, especially in countries like Poland, they need to be physical. And I know that it's beyond us. It's not our decision, and we have to go online to some extent. But it's just not the same, because you're missing the people aspect, which is just really so important with our festival, and I guess it's probably the same with your festivals. And of course, it is still fun to have access to these movies, which you normally wouldn't have. I guess Poland is also, I don't know if you have something like this, but actually in Poland we do have streaming service which is 100% LGBT, and that's where we're doing the online edition of our festival. So I guess just to our viewers, just putting more films online doesn't make that much of a difference. It was always the physical aspect of actually being able to go to the cinema, feel safe, and be happy. They don't have to worry about being LGBT in this area.
Exactly. Yeah, safe space is it's definitely the word that connects like all our queer festivals. Simona, you mentioned that your festival is happening in many different locations in Slovenia. So can you tell us a little bit like how that works? Is it like a network, or how is it?
So when we figure out the program, we send or we suggest a few films to the other cities because they really want to work with us. So we have few let's say co-workers in these cinemas in these other cities. It's 5 let's say 3 cities and 2 smaller towns. So it actually goes quite around the country. So we send them part of the program. So just maybe like 3 films to each of these cinemas.
Okay, so the space is the cinema. It's not that it would be like an NGO, like small queer organization or a queer group that would like to screen the films.
It's the place is always a cinema, but there are some in Trieste. There is like a group of LGBT people who are active in. I mean, they actually work with us, so they are a small organization, let's say.
Pavel, can you tell us a bit how it works with Mezipatra? Because you work in Prague, in Brno, but also you do like some other screenings elsewhere.
We have nowadays we have one city in the Czech Republic, the town of Olomouc, which is quite active also in the LGBT scene, because they have an NGO there that is run by the university students or alumni. It's a university town, but at the same time we always had also other smaller towns. But at the same time, in the Czech Republic, the situation is persistently looking that all the queer people from the smaller towns move either to Prague or to Brno, almost all of them, because just the social life that can be offered in the smaller places is not enough for many people. So we have difficulties in bringing our films to smaller towns, but we are trying to make some outreach as well.
Thank you. And Ksenia, how is it with is the festival side by side different in Moscow and in St. Petersburg? And are you also like working at other locations?
In St. Petersburg, we always have a full program, and in Moscow, it usually happens in half a year, I think. So, for example, if we have St. Petersburg edition in autumn, we have Moscow edition in spring. But last spring, it didn't happen because of first wave of COVID. And so I think that hopefully will be echo of St. Petersburg Film Festival in Moscow next spring. But it's the program is rather short if we compare it with St. Petersburg.
Okay, thank you. And do any of you cooperate also, for example, with specific groups like LGBT older people or like LGBT teenagers? Do you do anything with schools, for example? So, for example, in Poland?
No. I don't think there's any movement, any space for us to actually go into schools. It's not. From various aspects, I know if I should go into them, but there'd be probably quite a big blowback about LGBT coming to schools and teaching young kids and stuff like that. So no, we don't even try to go to schools with our movies. I guess it's probably just still too contentious an issue. I just want to also add that we actually do have outreach also in Poland. So we do the main festival in Warsaw, and we do it in like 6 or 7 other cities, and we do cooperate with all the big LGBT NGOs in Poland.
Okay.
But normally they do like side events, discussions, sometimes organize special events. But we don't even try to go to schools. It's just too, I would say, risky we do enter universities.
Okay, so if you are a young teenager who realizes that he or she is she's queer, like where can people go? Like where can they ask for advice, or like where they can share their feelings with?
Are we talking like in general in NGOs in Poland?
Yeah.
There are several NGOs that do offer a helpline. And one of them is Lambda. There's also Miłość nie wyklucza, which is Love Doesn't Exclude. We also have a lot of young people actually coming to the festival, sometimes like 15, 16, 17 years old, but it's not like it's an offer that we direct specifically to schools. There's also a cousin of mine that actually came out at the festival, and she was like 17 years old, and she was like from a very conservative town, and nobody knew, and she showed up with her partner at the festival. So it's also a space where people do feel comfortable and often do their coming out. But there's also a lot of defunding of LGBT here in Poland. I guess we'll be moving on to the subject of finances, but we have no public funding, and a lot of other Polish organizations also have no public funding from Poland. So it's not like there's a lot of help that people can get from the NGOs, because they can only do so much.
And Ksenia, I guess in Russia it's similar, right? That it's impossible to do queer screenings in schools.
No, it's impossible. Yeah, but the good news is that this year edition of Side by Side Film Festival we dedicated to queer space. It's one of the theme, and main theme is LGBT people of older age. So I think it's important and it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super. And Simona, in Slovenia, you mentioned the right-wing government and all the difficulties. Is it possible to work with schools?
Yes, we actually this year we planned 2 school projections for high schools. So we had the slots on the weekends when the schools could come and see the films, because sometimes they have these subjects they can take, and then instead of school program they go to the cinema as a part of education. So we were working in this direction, but now it's not going to be physical probably, so I don't know how we will solve it yet, but it is very possible. Also to go to schools is possible. I mean, we are still an open democratic society. Just this recent turn to the right is really concerning us. Apart from that, this year we also planned a projection for people with hearing problems, because we have a film from Australia that is dealing with this transgender person who has a hearing problem. So we thought it would be interesting also for this group of people. And we also work with the local LGBT community, little communities, like organizations. I mean, there is like a transgender activists and organization that is like Transakcja, it's called, and they are very active for the last few years. And we are really trying to include transgender films. I mean, topics of transgender a lot, so we work on that and we collaborate with them. So they invite their members, and so it's like we collaborate in this sense, attracting the audience and also inviting them for the roundtables, because they know a lot about these topics. There's also some other small organization defending rights of bisexual people, so we're also working with them, and some other small organization who is dealing with youth. So we also invited them, and we try to work with all these small little organizations.
Yes, that's really sounds really nice. Nice to hear. And Pavel, do you, because you do cooperate with schools?
Yes.
Is it possible to cooperate with schools also when the schools are closed at the moment?
No, we didn't find a way to do the screenings online, but as you mentioned, we are actually going to schools actively. We always used to have school screenings, but only in Prague and Brno. But in the last 2 years, thanks to a project that we do together with the Prague Pride and other organizations, we were able to expand into schools in all the towns in the Czech Republic. We are able to travel there, show the film, and have the discussion afterwards. And what struck me really is that in the last 2 years, we had I think around 100 screenings, and 80% out of the 100 screenings were in the towns smaller than 100,000 inhabitants. So it shows a lot that the teachers, the open-minded teachers in the small towns of the Czech Republic, where the homophobia and transphobia is the biggest problem, have the interest in talking with the kids, or most of the time they do not know how to talk about these problematics on their own. So they are happy that they can invite us. And it's showing, I think, great results in the way that on one side we talk with the kids and we expand their horizons, but on the other hand, we are there for the queer kids in the small towns that feel lost, that feel disconnected from their surroundings. They they are experiencing the toughest time in their life, as I remember it from as a person from a small village. So that's making me really happy that we are there for them.
Yeah. So does it ever happen that during the school screenings where you go to that kids actually come out?
It happened once. It had happened once that one kid actually came out to the whole class. And that was something, I wasn't there, but as I heard it from my colleagues, it was very powerful. And but it happens, at almost every screening, that some kids are coming to the lecturers from the festival and talking to them. Sometimes it's like. It's funny that sometimes a straight friend of this person goes together with the queer person, or as my colleagues assume, and this straight friend is asking for the friend or something. So these moments are really precious for us, I guess.
Yeah, right. Cool. And all of you also mentioned that like lots of young people come to your festivals. So can you tell us a bit about like what kind of films you show at your festivals? Is it more that you are trying to show more like entertainment, so that people can just like just enjoy themselves and don't think about the hard lives that they live, or are you trying to also stress some issues that are important to talk about? For example, as Simona was saying, that they are trying to program much more films about like trans issues. How is it? Or you try to find some combination between fun and like human rights and politics? So, for example, Simona, can you tell a bit about it?
Yeah, we are trying to find, as I said, geographically dispersed films. So we're trying to focus to not mainstream films, more independent films or art house films productions. Every year we also have maybe two films that are hits, maybe from Berlinale, the last Berlinale, because we have the festivals in December, so there's like a lot of reviews already during the year. So we try to find some films that are already like they have a lot of publicity. Usually it's a gay or lesbian movie, but actually it was last year. It was like an intersexual movie. It was a very interesting. Greta. Otherwise, we're really trying to, as I said, to have some kind of equal numbers of gay, lesbian, trans movies, intersexuals, and so on, so that everybody finds something for himself or herself. And also we also include documentaries. I personally really think documentaries are important. I come from documentary filmmaking, so this is my agenda. So we also have documentaries and short films and animations, apart from fiction films. So there's a lot of something. I mean, there's a lot of everything, let's say. But yeah, we'll see this year if we have to go online. We need to get a permission for the online screening, so we cannot screen all the films that we have selected. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And Przemek, how was it with your festival? What was the biggest hit this year?
What was the biggest hit this year? Okay, I think we had M. We showed M, and that was pretty well received. In general, like it seems like the documentaries did pretty well. And when it comes to selection, we also do the same like Simona. We try to select a bit of everything. So we have a bit for all the LGBT subgroups. But we also try to involve, like we had, not this year, but last year we did quite a lot on asexuals. So we try not only to limit ourselves to like the normal groupings. And we also had the same issue with because originally the festival was supposed to take place in April. Of course, it couldn't take place in April, and everything was moved to September. So we lost a lot of movies this year because of the move, and we had to change a bit our program in general. And in general, it seems like for whatever reason, the documentaries seem to be pulling in people this year.
Super. Thank you very much. And Ksenia, what about your audience? What kind of films do you program?
Again, I say first about Side by Side Film Festival and after about Invisible Film Festival. So Side by Side has in its program feature-long films, documentary films, and short films. So I think if we are speaking about feature-long films, it's hits from big festivals. For example, of course, we have in this edition of all the festivals, No Hard Feelings from Faraz Shariat. It has Teddy Award from Berlinale, and another amazing things. In documentary program, we have I like this one a lot. It's Life of Lesbians in DDR. From Barbara Wall-Braun. So, of course, we have some Russian films in short program and in feature-long program. And if I'm saying about Invisible Film Festival, it's rather young festivals. It's only 2 years. So when we, with my colleagues, thinking about our manifest, so we decided that when we speak about queer, in meaning of our festival, I think it's more like films about undermining some queer, some heteronormativity, let's say. So it's queer video art pieces, short pieces. So yes.
Okay, super. Thank you. And Pavel, what is going to be the biggest hit of Mezipatra this year? Or what you wish is the biggest hit?
You know, this year we opened with No Hard Feelings, as Ksenia was already mentioning, but we have also, you know, changed the scope of the main competition at Mezipatra a little bit, because this year there are also two documentaries competing. One of them being Always Amber, that was mentioned by Przemek, and the other one is Little Girl by Sebastian Lifshitz, which is a French documentary about a trans girl, very young. And the selection of Mezipatra in the competition is always, I think, a little bit challenging for many people, but I think we have grown an audience that is somehow percepting the view at film that we have, which is quite art house, and it's not mainstream, I must say, at least in the main competition. The more mainstream films, I think, can be found in the short film competition and also in retrospective every year. But I think, you know, the selection, which is quite high profile, not so mainstream, is the reason that many people do not show up. But at the same time, it's important to us, and we rather, you know, develop the audience and educate the audience step by step. Maybe gain a little bit of new viewers every year, and you know, try to make them used to our selection. Then putting, you know, some comedies, some US comedies that we do not feel with in any way.
So what's your favorite film then this year?
I wouldn't say it yet, because
Okay.
it's still going on. But there are a few. Of course, Let of Kreuzbergu. The original name is. I'm sorry, I cannot recall the original names now. But yeah, Let of Kreuzbergu, or maybe Vento Secco is one of the favorite films of mine.
Okay,
Yep.
super. Thank you. I would like to remind the viewers that you can send us comments, questions in the chat, and I will ask them then here in the studio. And now I would like to move to the maybe more difficult part of running a festival, and it's like sponsorship, finances, getting support. Like we heard it already a few times during the discussions that some of the festivals just don't get no public funding, that it's really difficult to get open support from the cities, for example. So can you tell us like how you survive, because money is also important part of the work that we are doing, right? So Simona, how is it with your festival?
So we get some money from Ministry of Culture that gives money. It's a public money for film festivals and other festivals, and it's for 3 years. So we get it every 3 years. I forgot to mention the important thing that our festival is very old. It started in 1984, so it's 36th edition this year. It was actually the first international queer or LGBT film festival in Eastern Europe. Why did I start saying that? So about sponsorships and so on, we are usually just looking a little bit of sponsorship for maybe covering something for our guests. But this year we will not actually have any international guests coming. We always have a workshop or something. So also this year, a German director we're supposed to have a workshop, but probably it will be online. But we have now a new collaboration with that I found very important, also in symbolic way, with the big pharmaceutical company Novartis, if you know it. That is also in Slovenia. It overtook our own pharmaceutical company, but they are happy to work with us, to collaborate. So they offered us some kind of a funny deal that we we sent a selection of our films that are programmed for this year to them, around 8 films, and they will screen it to their employees. And I find this very important. And in return, they will give us some money. So I think that's very. Not the money, but the whole thing. I think it's very important.
Okay, thank you. And Ksenia, how is it in case of side by side? Like, I guess you cannot get like really any public funding. So how do you fundraise? Because you cannot do it with, no rubles, right?
Unfortunately, with Ministry of Culture, as Simona said, it's quite opposite in Russia. So it's Ministry of Culture rather try to like block our festival, I think. So, but side by side is supported by foreign embassies, Europe embassies. So it's quite. Quite important for us. And as far as we are speaking about Invisible Film Festival, we are doing it with my colleagues, like on our own so far.
Okay, thank you. And Przemek, situation in Poland, how do you survive financially?
First of all, this is the 11th edition. I don't believe the festival had public funding, Polish public funding even once. So it's actually a longer issue. We were hoping to get funding from the city of Warsaw, but because the president of Warsaw signed the LGBT card, and then it was supposed to be better, but no, we didn't receive any funding. Victor and me and a couple of other people, we put a lot of effort in last year and this year, and primarily it was Victor's work, to gain other funding. So there's actually a lot of funding from embassies, European embassies. There's also, this might interest people, but of all the weird things that President Trump did, he actually installed a friend of his in the American Embassy in Poland, Miss Mosbacher. And the interesting thing about Miss Mosbacher is that she's actually a very pro-LGBT fighter, and she just gave us a very big donation. The embassy just gave us a very big funding grant. So that's like, interesting for us that we actually got a lot of funding from the American Embassy. And apart from that, we have actually had a lot of success with private funding and sponsorships. And primarily in this year, we actually did a lot of, we actually gained a lot of funding from banks for whatever reason. So despite everything, we actually had two very strong financial years as far as the festival is concerned. Especially this year was actually pretty good financially, despite not having any public funding over here. So, and we also in previous years we also did a public collection of funds via just public collection of funds. But this year it didn't actually work too well. But thankfully managed to close that gap with private funding.
Yeah, so that sounds really great. And Pavel, hearing all this, then you are lucky, right, that your festival is in Czechia. So can you tell us a bit about finances of Mezipatra?
Yeah, the Czech Republic luckily has quite a stable system of public funding when it comes to cultural events, because most of the principles are independent from the current politics, which is also good. And Mezipatra is funded by 70% by the public funds usually, and 30% we can make on our own. We do not have any private money on board. We do have private sponsors, but that's all on in-kind basis. But it's been an ongoing challenge for us to cope with the rising prices of the films and with the inflation of and with the rising prices of services. Because the money we are getting is similar to the money we were getting at the times that everyone was working just on voluntary basis, and we are trying not to do that anymore. Because that's of course an ongoing challenge that has to be somehow dealt with. People have to be paid for their work, and nowadays we can give a little bit something for everyone that's involved with the team, but maybe one person can only buy a new coat or something small. But we are trying to be fair in this way, and it's unfair that we are not getting enough to pay everyone the fair wages.
Yeah, so I hope that the people who can influence this heard this and will do their best to change the situation. Now I heard in my ear that we have to be closing the discussion very soon, so I will ask the last question. I really want to thank all of you for sharing everything that you shared from your personal perspectives and about your festivals and challenges there, but also the good thing that you are going through. So what gives you strength and energy to continue? How come that you don't give up? So Ksenia, what gives you energy to continue your work?
So I think because I know that LGBT society in Russia still need visibility, first of all, and as far we make a festival, so we share with this visibility, we open horizons. So I think it's most important thing. And if you know for sure that somebody really need you as a community, and somebody for sure want to be part of this community and want this, that's it.
Okay, thank you. I think at the end we lost you a little bit. So, but thank you for what you said. Przemek, what gives you strength and energy to continue with your work for LGBT community?
Well, I always treat myself more as a helping hand with this festival, and I'm always happy to help. It's primarily Victor who isn't with us, but he's the main person that has to find the strength to actually carry on with the festival. I'm just really pleased that we can give what I mentioned, the safe space for the LGBT community in Poland, and I think we need as much of that as possible, especially in this climate where they don't have a lot of set spaces. Okay, the big cities are thankfully run by more left-wing parties, but the overall atmosphere in Poland isn't that great, and we need to move the pendulum a bit more to our side and do everything to change that slowly but surely. And hopefully, this is our small, this is our small way of trying to move the debate slightly into more liberal society.
Thank you very much. And Simona, how is it with you? What gives you strength and energy to continue work for a queer community?
I agree with everything they said before me. I think it's very important because first thing is visibility. I think it's very important to be visible in newspapers, in public spaces, in cinemas with reputation, because our festival is mainly held in Cinematheque. It's in the center of Ljubljana. It's an institution with some reputation, and in the other art cinema, with also art cinema that is only actually one in Ljubljana, so it has a lot of cinema feels going there, and nice atmosphere. And we are involved in other places in the city also, like in a cafe that is very liberal, in a cultural center, Metelkova, where a club for gays and lesbians is. So it's also like, the opening party and so on. And this kind of visibility, it's not only the safe space for LGBT community, but also I think it brings some tolerance in society during the time, of course. And this kind of events and festivals, I think they bring acceptance and understanding and tolerance and education. So I think it's very important to have them.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Pavel, what motivates you to continue working for Mezipatra and queer community?
I also agree with everything that has been just said, but also for me, the personal reason is first of all also the people that are filling up the screening halls every year, except for this year. But also the most important thing is the films. It's the great films that we get to see every year, and it's the great films that we get to bring to people every year. I'm just amazed by how the queer film industry is living and how it's working so well. And every year we have films from some countries that you wouldn't expect it from, and the word of the queer film is something really cherished for me.
Thank you. Oh, that's so nice to hear all these. So we really have to finish now. So I would really like to thank from the bottom of my heart to Simona, Ksenia, Przemek, and also to Pavel, who was with me in the studio. Thanks for all the work that you are doing for us, for queer people, and also for filmmakers. And good luck with your upcoming festivals, and hope to see you physically one day, either here in Prague or in your cities. So take care and thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.